and I'll tell you, here's my concern for you is that April is when we expect coronavirus to peak. And so there may be a time where you're not sure, is this my normal thing or is this coronavirus?
You would say April. We're supposed to go back to work in April.
Nope, I'm so sorry, but April 3rd, I think, is the date that a lot of people think. April 7th.
Yes, well, Bell County is April 7th.
I am just not seeing that happening. I think that's a huge mistake. But you know how to reach me, so if you have trouble in April, you let me know.
And then they canceling our doctor's appointments.
Yes.
Because I'm doing a video conference with my doctor on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
After I went to see the vampires. So I get this call and it's a video. I'm like, a video appointment? Really? And she goes, yes.
We finally just got approved for that in my office to be able to do video medicine.
I'm like, gee, I can't go to the doctor. Oh, man. Not that I'm sad about it, but it's just the fact that the one place you need to go. Yes. You're having a video conference. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. I'm like, well, at least I don't have to pay for it. I'm good. That was a good part. But I'm like, okay, all right. So we know all the stores are closed because of the touching, closeness, and sneezing. Ugh. So we know why they're all closed now. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't look like the numbers went with the closures.
That's right.
You know what I mean? I mean, we're all shut down, but we keep not watching the numbers rise. I'm like, so that, not to say it's not going to help, but that did not help the situation at all.
There's a couple of reasons for that. One is that it happened too late. This is something that should have happened weeks ago. What we see with coronavirus is a 2 to 3 week lag. When you make a change, it takes 2 to 3 weeks to show a slowing or a flattening of the curve in the data. So this is something that should have happened several weeks ago. Right. The second reason is that we are having a hodgepodge of cities, states, municipalities that are doing it differently. Everybody is closing at different times and at different rates and using different parameters to decide what is closed. Mm-hmm. And so we're not effectively shutting down things in an organized manner. So those two pieces are conspiring to let the virus spread a little bit more quickly than it would have. There's a great graphic on the New York Times that shows how you can limit the spread based on how much closure you do, from a full closure in isolation to a 25% closure in isolation to a 50% to a 75% to a 0. And it's really stark how different it looks depending on how much closure you're doing.
Yeah, because like I said, I was paying attention to the numbers. I'm like, we shut the whole city down. Well, the county, or state actually, I guess you'd say. We shut it all down, but I'm like...
Well, that's why I am saying that it's going to be in April when it peaks. I was reading some medical information yesterday about China, and we know China had a huge number of cases very quickly, but they only had one province in China that had more than 1,000 cases, and yet they still ended up with this huge number of cases. We have, I think, now 12 states that have more than 1,000 cases in their states. So we haven't even done as much shutting down as China did. So we're looking at some big numbers coming up, and what I keep telling people is if we come out of this and we don't hit the huge numbers that people are predicting, and we can either say, wow, we overreacted, or we can say, oh, wow, we did the right thing. And so seeing numbers eventually drop and seeing that this pandemic slows down means that we're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean that we're overreacting. We're underreacting right now.
Nice. Okay. I don't want martial law.
I know.
I don't like them.
I know.
Okay, because we did that before. I know, I'll put it this way. I was part of it before. Yeah. And because we had a riot and they did, and martial law supersedes your own laws.
I know.
It's no fun.
I know. I hear you on that.
It's no fun because you can't go from one side of town to the other without permission, and it can drive you up the wall. Okay, so the 10 feet, 12 feet, yeah, the 12 feet.
The separation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that really help, or is it just a mental thing?
No, it helps. You should look up videos of what happens when you cough or sneeze. There are videos that show how far those particles spread out into the environment. And so that number of feet separation is meant to get you outside of the splash zone, for lack of a better word, of where a virus spreads when someone coughs or sneezes. So, yeah.
Working with pre-K,
yeah.
Most of the things you talk about, we did as a, what we call it, personal space.
Yes.
I mean, but when our kids would sneeze, you'd be like,
yep,
they're over there. I mean, so a lot of things that they talk about, a couple of us were talking, because, especially that we're in the world by ourselves, because those other people don't really talk to us. But we were talking on the phone and back and forth on texting to say that certain things that they said don't do. We learned you don't do them because you're working with pre-Kers. So
special ed and pre-K teachers are well prepared for social distancing.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we really are. And cleaning, because except for we don't use hand sanitizer like we're supposed to. No, we try to. We clean with what the school gives us.
Yeah. I don't know that it's possible to use enough hand sanitizer being around pre-K and special needs kids.
Yeah. Yes, we use hand sanitizer is our life.
Yes.
But they need to make a new hand sanitizer for kids. I'm just saying that's my thing, because kids eat it. They'll lick it and you're like, oh horrific. They do. Your 3 girls would lick it.
Oh my God.
Because that's their lifestyle. I mean, that is their life.
Yes.
So they need to make a hand sanitizer for children only, because they will lick the sanitizer off their hands.
Someone needs to get on that.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Mann, that's your job. You must come up with
an edible hand sanitizer.
Edible hand sanitizer. Yes. Okay. The wipes that people use, are they any good? Or it depends on what wipes or what kind or what because you see wipes and people are going crazy over them. I'm like, okay, are they really effective, or is it just normal water, or what is
No,
it?
they're useful. I'm looking at the package that you guys have that says kills 99.9% of viruses and bacteria. I mean, that's great. That's a good, useful hand sanitizer. It varies, though, where you are. Like in a healthcare setting, we have to have a different standard of what we use to wipe things down. So we really do need commercial grade sanitizing wipes. But in the general population, things like that are great. Unfortunately, they're sold out everywhere. Those are very useful. But I just want to reiterate that soap and water is useful too. Like you can fill a Tupperware container with paper towels and soap and water and use that to wipe stuff down if you don't have access to disinfecting wipes.
Okay, my favorite friend for wiping things down with is vinegar, white vinegar.
Yeah.
Is it good?
I don't know that I've seen data on white vinegar, quite frankly. I'll see if I can find that out for you.
Because I'm a vinegar cleaner.
Yeah.
I like it because it cleans good.
Yeah.
So is it as effective?
I don't know that it's effective for antiviral purposes. I will have to find that out for you.
And most of your cleaning things, your cleaning solutions, when it lists what it helps, Corona is on there.
Yes.
So is this the same Corona, or is it a different Corona? You know what I mean? Is it?
You said something early on about being cousins. So I'll use flu virus because people are more familiar with that. There's a new flu virus strain every year. And so this is a new strain of coronavirus. As I mentioned earlier, coronavirus has existed for a long time. We've known about it. It's been identified. But this strain has not been part of the human experience ever.
So the Corona on there, on the containers, is not the same virus we have now.
It's the same family of viruses, but not the same one. However, for a disinfecting purpose, anything that kills the family of coronavirus is going to kill this strain of coronavirus.
Okay. Because everybody is, if you look on Facebook, it's like, they show the picture right there on the, that's on the can, and you go, oh my God.
Well, yeah, because people think that it's a conspiracy that, hey, coronavirus has always been here. See, it's on the can. That means we've always had it. And that's a very poor understanding of how viruses exist in our population.
So Okay, so what you're saying now is, okay, in January, it was in the paper, but it was an article to the side about the virus. But it was just an article. It wasn't, you need to be careful. It was none of that. It was just explaining that this virus, and it told you how it works, but it wasn't an alert. It was just an article in the paper. So you mean at that time, if the United States had reacted at that time, we would be a lot better now if they had reacted to it when they put it in the paper, just a general article?
Can I be real about this?
Sure.
All right. It shouldn't have been individual people who made the decision to do things differently back in January. It should have been our federal government that made the decision to do things differently back in January. This is epidemiology 101. We should have had processes in place that would have looked at the data coming from other countries, because other countries alerted our country at the government level and at the medical field level that this was coming. We were alerted, and our government chose not to do anything to make sure that it didn't spread into the population. So I get that there's going to be people listening to this program that think that government should be small and shouldn't have a role, and who feel like government overreaches all the time, and I hear you. But this is exactly one of the main purposes of government, is when we have a situation that puts our entire population, our entire economy, our entire world at risk. This is exactly what government is meant to do, is to protect the citizens of the United States, and our government failed miserably on this.
That's true, because like I said, I remember reading about it in the paper, and I was like, oh, okay. So since it didn't alarm, I'm like, okay, some other flu.
It's not your responsibility. It should have been the government that said this is a problem. So I've created a series of videos myself on coronavirus, and one of the very first videos that I did talked about how we in the medical field got information about this versus, for an example, how we got information about measles vaccine a couple of years ago and measles outbreaks. So when measles outbreak happened, there was a coordinated dissemination of information to doctors across the areas that had measles outbreaks. We were sent alerts, we were sent texts, we were sent emails, faxes saying, these are the cases, this is what happened, this is what you need to do. This did not happen with coronavirus.
No, it didn't.
And that is a failure of our system. It's a failure of our government. And I'm not going to be quiet about that this is something that the government had the responsibility to alert people, to create a system to disseminate information, to make sure that equipment was available and sent to healthcare providers, to make sure that test kits were developed and sent out across the country, to make sure that we were on track to develop a vaccine and treatments for it. That is stuff that should have happened in January. And now here we are in March, 2 months later, and we're starting to see that happen, but we're way behind.
Thank you, government. We appreciate you. So this is when now I'm going to bring it all the way back around. This is when we need to think about things when elections come around.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we put those people in place. So we need to let them know the same thing. Like your parents told you, I bought you in, I could take you out. Mm-hmm. Well, we need to, talk to our government and tell them thank you for this. Because, like I said, if they would have alerted everybody then, you wouldn't have this mass. Because we have two things going on. The virus is causing two issues, not just one. We have the virus over here, and we have mass hysterical people over there. And they're causing more problems almost than the virus is, because the government, I'll say again, has sent us to be hysterical. And
we building on both of those two things, we also have the economic toll that this is taking.
Yes.
And if we had done this the right way, the economic toll would not have been as bad as it's going to be because of our lack of taking the proper steps.
Yeah, because now we've affected more than, okay, the virus is here, so it's not going to work. But now we've affected, like you said, people's lifestyles. Mm-hmm. Also, we haven't caused people, but the government has. All right, I'll put it this way. None of us in here were born when they had the Depression time and all that. Mm-hmm. When they went into mass hysteria, and some of their mass hysteria is going on today. But we weren't part of that, so we don't know. None of us knew. So when this started, it's forcing people to be people that they are not.
Yes.
You know, anytime I got to go to the store and I see a police officer in the store on duty. So our government caused 2 mass hysterias. We have one with the virus, and then we have one with people thinking this is the end of the world, so I got to go shopping and get everything. Right. But they're spending money they don't need to spend.
Right.
They're spending money they don't have, and they're spending money without thinking. Because I went in the store. I went into one store. I'm not going to say the name. This lady had like 8 things of milk in her cart, right?
Oh, my gosh.
So I'm touching her. I'm like, excuse me. She said, what? I said, excuse me. She said, yeah. How many kids you have? She goes, why? I said, just go along with me for a minute. How many kids you have? She said, 2. They drink milk every day? She said, what kind of sort of? I said, so does all that milk expire at the same time, or is it staggered? So she's looking at me. She goes, what? Does all that milk expire at the same time, or is it staggered? She said, staggered. I was like, this will expire on the 5th, this the 8th, this the whatever. Is it? She said, no, it's not staggered. I said, so are you going to pour that milk out, or what? She looked at me, and she looked at the milk, and she looked at me. She said, you're right. I'm going to be throwing away some milk. Yes, you are. You're going to be pouring money down the drain, and you're going to be mad because the kids didn't drink it when it's not really their fault because you bought it.
Right.
You know, she was looking at me, she goes, yeah. You know, she said, so why'd you do that? I said, because I be watching people put all this stuff in their cart, knowing that some of it's not going to stay. I said, now, if you had 8 things of water, I'd be like, okay, because water doesn't expire. But you had all this milk. I'm like, either you got a bunch of kids or, so she put some back. You know, she thought about it. You know, she said, but she's been hoarding everything. So, hey, hoard milk. And I'm like, we're causing people to do things that they've never done in their life, and they don't understand it. And we got bills. People are going to have bills due on, and they're going to be looking at it. It's all in their cart. Yep. So the government has led us to mass hysteria.
Yes.
To looking like mommy sometime would leave the house, because this one lady, I saw her, she had on scrubs, she had her mask, she had her gloves on, and she had the shoe covering things. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's either going to do surgery in this store.
Right.
Or what? So people have hysteria, yes. And there's those of us who don't work. Well, some of us are lucky. We don't work, but we get paid for staying at home. But the point is that, all this, like you said, had been done in January, we wouldn't be where we are right now.
That's correct.
Because our economy is shot. Mm-hmm. So thank you, government.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to check who's up there so we can see what we can do to them. And if you all know me very well, you do know I love attacking elected officials. I love attacking them. Yes, I do. I really do. Why? Because we need to remember, as I tell you every day, I've been saying it for years, your candidates lie to you. If you have not spoken to them, they can't speak for you. So when they said, I'm speaking for you, no, they're not. If they never talk to you, they're lying to you. Tag all your candidates. But our people who are, our Congress and Senate people, go at them. Remember, you put them in office, you could take them out. And even if you didn't, they work for you. So you know what? Call them, email them, fax them. I don't care. I love Facebooking candidates. You know why? Because my representative, if I Facebook him, he inboxes me back. So he won't Facebook me back. He inboxes me back. So I take his inbox and turn it back onto my Facebook page. But, since our government, like I said, our government did let us down. They put us to where we are. They put, Dr. Christine Mann into a whole new lifestyle, because now she's doing her practice, but here's an extension right here of something that she knew should have been done a different way. And I'm sure a lot of times that happens with a doctor or in any profession. But this is not any profession. This is not any any entity. This is not like a new strand of the flu, because every year when they have a new strand of the flu, I go, okay, fine. Not going to bother me none. I do. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to catch this. I ain't worried about it. I said, but this came along. It's like, bam. And like I said, I read about it in the paper in January. I remember that. And it's like, oh, okay, all righty then. Fine. Okay, something new coming along. Whatever. Because it was an alarm. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, whatever. Okay, fine. Thank you for letting me know. I'm going on about my life. When now we know that we shouldn't have said, okay, yeah, I'm going on with my life. We should have thought about it differently. So it goes back to who you put in office and what they care about. It actually does. I mean, the disease would have came. The virus would have been here anyway. But the reactionary time since we found out that it was, we're chasing the virus. We're not with it. We should be with it and not chasing it. But we're letting it lead our country. It's leading our county. It's leading our whole life. I mean, like I said, everybody's lifestyle has changed a little bit. Radio, I guess we're still essential, huh?
Communications.
Partly essential.
And I guess so, because we can do interviews like this and get it out get it out for people to actually hear and talk about. So, I'm not finished with questions yet. She should not got like 1,000 of them, millions of them. Okay, now when we open up schools again, whenever we do, and I say we work with the most vulnerable people because we work with short people, but also there are those of us who work with the real vulnerable kids, which is special ed, because our kids are physically and or mentally challenged. So a lot of them have issues with going on. So when we all come back to school, what should we be first doing? When we first get back, there's something I know we need to be doing first. And I know our government will tell us 3 weeks after we get there what we need to be doing. When we first come back, we got a bunch of little kids. As far as health, what should we be concerned about or doing differently, or what should we be doing? Because we're going back.
A lot is unpredictable right now, but I would say that the number one thing is going to be ramping up all the cleanliness stuff that you've done. I know you do a lot, and I am in the same kind of situation where I have to do a lot of cleanliness when I'm at work. I use hand sanitizer all the time. I wash my hands frequently. I have to wear gloves for certain things, but with this, I've gone even further. I'm doing it probably twice as much as I used to. So that's the number one thing, is that you're going to have to ramp up that amount of cleanliness that you're doing. And the other piece of it that we still don't know, there's a possibility that when we open things back up, that we're going to see a second wave of this virus come out. And so, staying connected and alert, and hopefully the government will start doing a better job about informing us, but making sure that you are connecting to reliable sources about second waves of the virus coming through.
At a middle school and high school, their lifestyle is different than ours.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But, pre-K kids think your body belongs to them.
Yes.
Because they're going to grab your legs, your thighs.
They have no boundaries.
No. And if you put a boundary to them, they're being punished.
Yeah.
Because our kids think if you stay over there and I'm sitting over here, now you're punishing them.
Right.
They don't get that it's healthy that we do this.
Right.
So that's going to be gone out the window for your little ones.
I've seen a few resources like coloring books and videos, and using songs and other things to help explain it to smaller kids. So those might be tools that you can use. There's going to be, at least for a while, a new normal where we can't be as huggy and lovey as we have been in the past. And I think kids can learn that if we put it in age-appropriate learning tools. So, coloring books, and maybe, I don't know, does VeggieTales still exist, where, some of those kids' commercials can use those tools for learning purposes.
Well, see, let me update you a little bit there.
I'm dating myself, aren't I?
I work with 3-year-olds.
Yes.
And 4-year-olds, and everything in their life is hip hop.
Okay, all right. So
we have the alphabets in hip hop.
Okay.
So everything. So if we give them something bland, they're gonna be looking right here, see who's doing what, playing with anything, walk away. So if it's in a cool version,
I'll defer to your judgment on how that should be disseminated.
Yeah, if it's in a cool version, it's good. If it's not, they're gonna look at us like, what's this?
Miss Phyllis Jones is going to lead us all on how to teach kids about hand hygiene and social distancing.
They love using hand sanitizer.
Oh, yeah.
We just have
you
to
can make
keep
a game out of that.
We just got to keep them from licking
it.
Yes. So we need to be like disgusting taste or whatever. I don't know. But we need to do that. But yeah, so when we all go back to our normal lives, well, actually, our normal lives won't be normal anymore.
Right.
Because this is forever, will ever for change people.
Yes.
But that's the preparedness that you're not prepared for.
Yes.
If that made any sense.
Yes.
Nobody's prepared for tomorrow.
That's correct.
I mean, okay, right now we know the 7th of April is the date.
Yes.
That everything goes back
Everyone
in gear.
thinks that that's going to be a hard date and everything's normal again.
And
not true.
It's not. We have to go for a whole new whatever. Okay, so now when we go back to work, go back to our life, the virus is still there.
Yes.
So its chance is going to come back strong again. So will we be better prepared next time, or we won't be?
You know,
like you only have so many test kits now.
Right.
So we know it's going to come back.
Yes.
Because viruses don't just go away and say, I'm not coming back anymore. I don't like y'all. This is it.
Right.
They come back.
Right.
So how will it be for you to be better prepared? And I don't mean prepared mentally, but prepared with kits.
Right.
Test kits. So what will you all be doing, during the slow period to build yourself back up?
It 100% depends on the decisions that our federal government makes.
Those people again?
Yes.
Okay.
So, for example, the president has the power to enact something called the Defense Production Act, where he can make companies produce masks, ventilators, test kits, vaccines, medications.
Okay.
He has the power to do that. And he has mentioned that he has the power to do that, but he hasn't invoked that power yet. So right now we're relying on individual companies to ramp up their production, which we have an ethos in the United States of free market, which I am a free marketer in general. But in a pandemic situation, in a healthcare situation, we can't just sit back and hope that private industry is going to do what they need to do. So far, some companies have and some have not. So, for example, there's a company that has voluntarily decided to mass produce ventilators. Great. But we need more than just one company doing things like that.
And also you have Ford and General Motors doing it.
Yes.
But Ford and General Motors could only do it till August.
Yes.
Because their car dealerships have changeover.
Yes.
Well, not car dealerships, the companies do changeover for the year of the car.
Right.
And that starts in August.
Right.
So by end of July,
yes,
they're finished. Not, they can't do ventilators anymore.
Right.
They have to go back to doing their own, what they do. So.
And there's another layer. I was reading about a real estate investor who, the type of investment he does is he buys up medical facilities that have gone bankrupt, and then he sells all the medical equipment in it, and then he sells the building. He has properties that he could allow to be used. They're hospitals that are just vacant, that he could be allowing those to be used, and he's choosing not to because he's not getting a fair market price for them. So that's what happens when you allow, in this kind of a situation, when you allow private individuals and companies to make those decisions. Wow. We need our government to step up and say, this is the role of government. We're in a crisis situation, and these companies have to do these things that we need them to do. So the lag time is hopeful. It's giving us the hope that we will start to have the supplies. But if people don't step up and the government doesn't step up, we're just going to be back where we started from in a few months.
Okay. You know what you're going to do. Call your congressman and call your senator and beat them up real good.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Yes, ma'am.
Because now we're a little bit smarter.
Smarter.
We're smarter. And we know what our role is. Because the other part is we needed to know what we need to do. Mm-hmm. So we need to talk to our Senate and Congress first. Mm-hmm. We need to talk to them. Then, let's talk to them. Don't say hi, how are you either. Let's really talk to them so that we can help. So we can help Dr. Mann and all the other doctors get what they need.
Well, and I would really also talk to local government officials about keeping the bans that need to be in place. So Bell County just allowed gun stores and churches to reopen. Yes. That's a mistake.
Yes, it is.
Call them.
Yes, it is. I know I emailed them already because churches are not going to follow the 12 people rule.
That's correct.
Rule. They're gonna walk. How you doing?
Yep.
Yes, they are. So, and guns, I don't know how they became
essential
because the way people act in the grocery stores now, I'm glad they don't have a gun because somebody will get shot. Okay, well, thank you for coming on.
Yes, ma'am.
And as this progresses or whatever it does, we'll be calling you back.
Yes, ma'am. I'll come back as often as you need me.
Yes, because we need to have a doctor in the house so that we can ask the question. Oh, wait a minute. Kids can say that. We got a doctor in the house. Yes. Okay. All right. I want to thank everyone for listening to KISS Community Connections this morning. I hope you learned a lot. Remember it, store it, and then share it. Don't just keep the information to yourself. Share it and make us all better. But I want you to always remember, you cannot lead a positive life with a negative mind. We'll talk to you next Sunday. Bye.